let's check in on Iran. Several news stories are in the news, all of them signaling a potential march towards more conflict, or at least are trying to get us to want more conflict. First, apparently, Iran has now quietly set up a new Supreme Defense Council, which gives the Ayatollah more streamlined and accelerated wartime powers in the event of more war. Also, reports are coming out claiming Iranian nuclear scientists took a secret trip to Russian scientific centers last year. You can understand the implication there. And then there's the nuclear deal. Iran says it's open to talking with the United States again, but under new conditions. Well, what are those conditions? What does all of this mean? Are we achieving peace or are we barreling headfirst into the next war? Joining us today is someone who can help break it all down for us, Dr. Hassan Ahmadian, one of the most respected voices on Iranian foreign policy. He's an assistant professor at the University of Tehran and has held research positions at Harvard's Belfer Center. His work focuses on Iran's strategy in the region, how it deals with foreign pressure, and what shapes its decisions during conflict. Dr. Ahmadian, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
By all means, thank you for having me.
Okay, let's start off first and talk about the nuclear deal. You recently said in an X post, the next round will be different. Iran has absorbed the lessons and is recalibrating trajectory of strategic thinking in Iran, amplify the damage dealt to aggressors, and extend the length of the conflict. A ceasefire will only be considered once those multipliers have taken effect. So what do you think is different this time around? I mean, I'm confused as to why Iran would even come to the negotiation table at all, to be honest with you at this point, because it doesn't look like anything Iran does besides halting the enrichment entirely. That seems to be the only thing that Iran could do. And Iran has said they're not willing to do that. So what is the point of even negotiating?
You're right. There are lots of voices in Iran calling for an end of negotiations with the United States, specifically with the Trump administration, because negotiations led to them greenlighting an Israeli attack on the country. And this debate is very strong here in Tehran as well. Yet, of course, the main aim for the negotiations to begin with was to lift sanctions imposed on Iran. And the Iranians are coming to terms with the fact that negotiations might not lead to that. At least the past record, the three past months have shown that negotiations might not necessarily lead to any deal or any lifting of sanctions. Even worse, it might lead to conflict. And as such, the Iranians are suggesting that for another round of negotiations with the Trump administrations, there need to be guarantees as to those negotiations shouldn't be used as a cover for another assault on the country. What I said on X was basically on Israel. Debates in Tehran are suggesting that there are criticisms on why the Iranians accepted an Israeli call for a ceasefire. When the Israelis started, the Iranians were negotiating, and then they were attacked. And then the United States doubled down by attacking Iran's nuclear infrastructure. Those critics are saying that why did we stop the war? Israel started to hurt, and then it called for a ceasefire. We shouldn't have stopped at that point. We should have told them that an assault on a sovereign nation shouldn't go just as they expect or when they want, basically stop it when they want. And so I was reflecting on those debates, and I think they are serious. I think if there is another round of conflict, the Iranians will not stop any time on the demand of the Israelis. They will make sure to inflict much pain to push the Israelis to think twice and thrice before attacking Iran. That's basically the essence of debates in Iran.
Yeah.
But when it comes to negotiations, it's all linked to this round of escalation in the region, the Israeli attack. Why do we talk with the United States that greenlights an assault on the country? I think that's a very legitimate point. Yet the pro-engagement camp in Tehran are arguing, well, we are there. We ask them for guarantees. If they don't provide us with, we won't negotiate with them. And the aim of these negotiations are lifting of sanctions. It's pretty much the same old argument.
Yeah, I'm curious what the different camps are saying and how many people are in each camp. Because from I mean, look, I'm not advocating for war. I don't want war, obviously. But at the same time, Iran, as you just mentioned, was at the negotiating table when when the attacks were greenlit for Israel to go ahead and attack Iran, and when the United States dropped the bombs. Iran was at the negotiation table. So, uh, and not only that, but previously there was a deal, and the United States pulled out of that deal. And Iran did not. Iran was not the one that said, "Okay, we're going to get out of the deal." It was the United States that did. So I guess and it's terrible from an American perspective that our country can no longer be trusted. I mean, we go into these deals, we pull out of the deals, we bring you to the negotiation table, and then we bomb you. So there's no, how do you move forward working with somebody like that, working with a country that can just change their minds all the time or bomb you even when you're trying and coming to the table? I don't understand what would be the point of coming to the negotiation table at all when I mean, it's just it just seems futile, really. So the argument from the pro, yes, let's go and negotiate side, how do they respond? How do they answer those particular concerns?
Yeah, but basically they agree with them. They don't, defy those arguments. Their main argument is that our main agenda is economic well-being of the country. Basically, the current administration, the Pezeshkian administration, and its agenda came to basically its campaign, electoral campaign was based on the betterment of the Iranian economics. And the way to go for that partly was related to how to deal with the West in general and the United States in particular. And they pushed for this round of negotiations that led to the war. They are very much weakened when it comes to their push nowadays. That's why they are basically taking this argument that is criticizing their approach and saying that we will not negotiate anymore without guarantees. We will not negotiate without the United States compensating for its attacks on Iran. And I think these are the essence of the debates. They are basically on the back foot when it comes to negotiations. I would say majority of Iranians are now reflecting what you just summarized. Why do we negotiate with this party that is basically not trustworthy? It attacked our country, it assassinated our people, and it's not guaranteed. Even if you get to a deal with it, and we did before, they would renege on it when they take what they get out of it, and then come to us and tell us what's yours is negotiable. So yeah, you basically summarized what the debates are here, and I don't see. I'm very much pessimist when it comes to renewed negotiations anytime soon because of those debates. Basically, Iran's foreign policy is not divorced from its public opinion, and the public opinion is not pushing in no manner for negotiations with the United States at this point. If anything, they are pushing for, and there were polls pushing for weaponization. Some 67% of Iranians in a poll that I trust, done by an institute affiliated with the University of Tehran, have said that, well, the way forward is weaponization, and we cannot guarantee our future without weaponization. So this push is actually not for negotiations. It's for a more hardline position because of what the negotiations led to, which is a war imposed on the country.
Mhm. What kind of guarantees could Iran even get? I mean, because again, the guarantees could be just, I mean, the United States could just back out of the gate, could say, yeah, okay, here's your guarantees, and then turn around and a year later say, oh, never mind. So what would possibly be considered a guarantee?
I'm not sure what they are talking about, what they call for guarantees, but I suspect the main issue here is for the United States to agree to compensate for Iran. In effect, agreeing that it violated Iran's sovereignty and it's not going to do it again, which is not a guarantee. I mean, I don't see in any shape or form the United States committing to such a guarantee moving forward. Back in 2015, when Iran signed the nuclear deal, it was ratified by the Security Council in the resolution 2231. Yet the United States pulled out of it. President Trump pulled out of it back in 2018 and said, "Well, that's our policy." And I've heard it from many colleagues in the United States that, well, it's international law, it's not American law, and we cannot really. You wouldn't expect this to be binding to a U.S. president. He would care about American law more than international law. So what kind of guarantee can there be? Uh, it's also a point of friction when it comes to debates in Iran, and I don't see really any tangible results coming out of this debate. But I think them insisting on compensation is an essence of where things are headed in terms of Iran pushing for a guarantee from the United States in exchange for further negotiations.
Okay. So it sounds like compensation is what Iran wants. That's what the reports are saying, is that wanting to be compensated for the assault on the country, on the sovereign nation. And that maybe if the United States did compensate, then that would kind of reflect a sort of guarantee in some way. But the U.S. has already come out saying absolutely not going to do it.
Of course, I think I wouldn't expect the United States to compensate for Iran. Basically, they didn't only violate international law by attacking Iran and bombing it. They basically went against the NPT, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which the United States is a member of, Iran is a member of, which basically bars any attack on any nuclear site in any country, be it weaponized or peaceful. In the case of Iran, it's peaceful. At least the IAEA holds that. Their main points against Iran's nuclear program were not on the sites that were attacked by the United States, but on other particles they said we basically discovered elsewhere. So these sites, there's a consensus basically that they were peaceful, and yet they were attacked. So the NPT, the United States, moved against it, and it moved against the international law by attacking Iran. The Israelis are saying we're not part of the NPT, yet they attacked a sovereign nation basically at odds with the international law. But I mean, we've seen what they have been doing in Gaza and Lebanon and Syria, elsewhere in the region. So that's not a country to be taken as a responsible country. But the United States, once the superpower in the unipolar world order, is now acting recklessly against the rules-based system that it itself established, was one of the main establishers, and it led for a good part of the past 70 years or 80 years after the Second World War. It's acting against it, which is new. Basically, President Trump brought this to the fore by violating each and every treaty and agreement the United States had during the Obama administration. I get the point that he was undoing Obama's basically achievements, but that's internal politics. It's not international law, and he's moving against international law. So that's, I mean, I agree with your point.
Why enrich uranium at all? So that's the United States position, is Iran can't enrich uranium at all. And if Iran were to, theoretically, if Iran were to agree to that, then maybe the sanctions would be lifted, maybe there would be some deals made, and all these things would. The thinking is that relations would normalize to a degree. So what is it? Why is Iran holding on to the enrichment of uranium at all?
Can you guarantee that if Iran gives up on its nuclear enrichment, the sanctions will be lifted, everything will be okay?
No, I mean,
I
obviously
don't
not,
think
right?
so.
Right.
I don't think so. And basically, see, the NPT allows each and every member of the NPT to enrich for peaceful purposes. So the United States coming out saying that you cannot enrich basically is unlawful, They cannot dictate that on any sovereign nation. Iran has been part to the NPT. In fact, most of the IAEA inspection capacity and efforts have been focused on Iran the past 2 decades. Iran is the most inspected country around the world. And I mean, time and time again has shown that its program is peaceful, at least since it signed the JCPOA back in 2015. It has shown, according to IAEA, different reports, many reports that it published, it was peaceful, but yet the United States withdrew and demanded Iran to cease basically enrichment. Enrichment is important for Iran because of its energy needs. We have blackouts now. It's not only about oil and gas, with the world moving away, and it's very much talked about a topic in Iran by the officials and by elite, the university academics and researchers, that moving forward the world is drifting away from fossil fuel. We have to have replacements. They have been focusing on solar, but also nuclear energy to replace that. And so, and according to the NPT, Iran can do that. Yet the United States is telling Iran, you can't do that. The Iranians didn't really move to 20 and 60% before the United States withdrew from the JCPOA. In 2011, the Iranians moved their enrichment to 20%. Because of the maximum pressure, or back then it was called the crippling sanctions by the Obama administration, to create leverage, to trade it for lifting of sanctions. And it did in 2015 exactly that. After the Trump administration pulled out of the JCPOA, the Iranians waited for a year for the Europeans to make up for US violation of the JCPOA, but then they didn't deliver, basically, the Europeans. So the Iranians took it on themselves to create leverage vis-a-vis the maximum pressure that was starting to hurt the Iranian economy, and they moved. They basically enhanced enrichment to 20 and then to 60% only after the Israelis assassinated one top Iranian nuclear scientist. So it's basically looked at, the high level of enrichment looked at in Iran as a way of building leverage, whereas the main purpose, according to Iranians, is basically the lower enrichment, which is basically needed for peaceful purposes.
Right, and I understand the idea of just staying at a threshold point where a nuclear weapon is within reach, but don't have one yet, but it's within reach, and staying at that level as some sort of deterrence. Hey guys, thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iversen Show, which you could check out Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. See you there.